afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay? I tend to have a loud booming voice, so you might even actually need to tell me to tone it down a few notches. But I also have the dubious honor of speaking to you after you've just eaten a great meal, so I don't want to lose anybody to falling asleep, especially when I'm going to be talking about something like mindfulness and relaxation. So the mind-body connection is such an important thing, especially when it comes to people that have Parkinson's disease. Because, life comes at us pretty fast. We're constantly called upon to be multitasking and juggling balls in the air. Even as retired individuals, there's just a lot of things in this life that we have to juggle. And none of us is immune to stress. So those of you with Parkinson's disease, what happens to your Parkinson's symptoms when you feel stress, emotional stress? Increases, right? So definitely your symptoms, whether it's tremor or slowness, sometimes may be worsened by stress. So stress and Parkinson's often aren't good bedfellows together. And what happens if somebody tries to rush you? Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, and you have Parkinson's. Kind of backfires, doesn't it? doesn't always work so well. And for those in the room without Parkinson's disease, how do you feel stress in your body? What are some things that you feel in your body when you feel stressed? Just shout it out. Where do you feel tense? All over? Do people have specific? How many jaw clenchers or tooth grinders do we have here? I'm one of them. Okay. How many people find that your shoulders are up into your ears and your neck muscles are just so tight? That's my husband, for sure. Or how many people have ever felt like tightness in your chest? Or, that sort of thing. So there's all kinds of physical manifestations of stress. So we know that our mind and our body are connected. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, about being more mindful about your body. So what is, you may have heard this term mindfulness, and it sounds kind of woo-woo, maybe it seems a little new age to some people or something, but it's really just about paying attention. So kind of one of the main gurus in the field of mindfulness-based stress reduction is a man by the name of Jon Kabat-Zinn. And this is his definition of mindfulness: paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience, moment by moment. So life comes at us pretty fast, like I said. A lot of times we're juggling a lot of different balls in the air, and we all have to multitask to some extent in our life. And that can create stress. So we know for the individuals in the room with Parkinson's disease, how does multitasking work for you? Maybe you may notice, and research bears this out, that doing two things at once, or three things, or whatever that is, becomes more difficult. And, you've got a movement disorder already, so the movements are slower, stiffer, smaller, just like the earlier speaker was talking about. And now you add another task, like I'm thinking about what I'm going to get at the grocery store. I'm thinking about how to get somewhere in my mind. And I'm moving and I'm thinking at the same time. And what can happen sometimes is that the movement will suffer. Maybe you're not paying attention to your movement as well. Maybe when you're not paying attention to your movement, the steps get smaller. And because you're not paying attention maybe to even where you're walking, maybe that foot catches on that little crack in the sidewalk that normally wouldn't trip you up, but you're not lifting your toes quite as high as you used to. So it can kind of create a whole sort of a effect that affects your movement, and we've even seen in research that it can increase your risk of having a fall. So that's why mindfulness and paying attention becomes very critical. And also, just in general, for people that don't have Parkinson's, paying attention to your body, the vehicle that you drive every day, becomes very important. Because if you are a driver or an owner of a car, you have to take that car in for an oil change. You have to rotate the tires. You have to do all that routine maintenance on your car. But do you do the same thing for this body of yours that you've been driving around for many decades, some of us? And so, with that in mind, that's how I want to approach this, from a really practical approach. So you can take away from this some very simple practical things that you could do. So there's actually been some research that's been done in the field of Parkinson's disease and mindfulness, which is kind of cool. There's a lot more research coming out about complementary things like yoga, like mindfulness, things like that. And it's been promising to show that these sorts of practices can help people with Parkinson's manage their symptoms. So I looked at a few studies, and I'm going to mention 4 of them, and some of them were done in Europe, and usually they consisted of 6 to 8 week programs of some kind of mindfulness classes that people attended for 1 hour once a week or an hour and a half once a week for 6 to 8 weeks, which isn't a big, huge time commitment. But then maybe they were given some homework assignments to listen to a mindfulness CD or given some exercises, breathing exercises that they could practice on their own within these mindfulness-based programs. But the results were very promising, depending on what they were measuring in people's symptoms or their levels of stress. And, there's different questionnaires and tests that they give to you, and maybe some of you have had to take these tests at the doctors, and some of them look at quality of life. And specific to one, it's called the PDQ-39. It's a Parkinson's questionnaire that's pretty standard about quality of life on the pain component of that, because a lot of people with Parkinson's deal with some sort of pain. And there was a 13% improvement after 8 weeks on that particular rating point, just from people practicing mindfulness-based stress reduction techniques. Another program showed that people had a reduction in anxiety, depression, and also improvements in motor function like walking and balance as part. So we know the mind influences the body. The most interesting thing was they actually did MRIs in the brains of people with Parkinson's before and after an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And they found that there was increased gray matter density in specific areas of the brain that have to do with Parkinson's disease. So that's pretty cool that using some of these techniques can actually change your brain. And the good thing I think about them is, we had a lot of questions and discussion about this morning about how different kinds of exercise might not be right for every person, especially depending on the stage of Parkinson's disease that you're in. For example, the weightlifting or the boxing programs, which are very good programs, they have evidence behind them, but they may not be for every person with Parkinson's disease. But the good news about mindfulness is anybody can practice it, regardless of what stage you're at in your Parkinson's. This is practical, everyday stuff that anybody can do, just sitting in a chair even. And I'll show you some of those techniques in a moment. So I think that's very, very hopeful news. So I want to talk a little bit about the mind and the body connection and just how mindfulness can reduce tension. So I'm going to have you do an exercise with me. I want everybody to make a fist. Make a fist. Clench a fist. Just clench it, clench it, clench it. Hold that fist. Now I want you to tell me what's happening right now with your breathing as you're clenching that fist. It stopped. Did you hold your breath? Okay, now I want you to consciously direct your breath into that fist. Just imagine that you're literally breathing into that tension and exhaling. What do you notice? The fist goes down? Your chest went down, so your breathing changed. Okay, what else? Just think about breathing in, breathing out. Are you holding that fist as tight as you did before? Do you feel a little bit of softening or a little bit of relaxation in the fist? Okay, now just shake it out. It's no fun to hold a fist like that. But so even just that simple exercise shows us that our mind can have a positive influence on the tension that we carry in our bodies. And many of you may know that to be true already. How many of you have ever practiced a mind-body practice such as yoga, such as Tai Chi, or even gone through mindfulness-based stress reduction? Oh, that's awesome. That's very good. Like to see that. So, so I think we often hold this unwanted tension in our bodies. And we know with Parkinson's disease, one of the primary symptoms is muscle rigidity, or just an underlying degree of increased muscle tone or tension or rigidity in the muscles. That's one of the primary symptoms of Parkinson's. And when they've studied pain in Parkinson's, they've found that muscle rigidity is probably the main symptom that's contributing to, it may not be totally causing, pain in the body. So yeah, you may have arthritis or spinal stenosis or other conditions that have nothing to do with Parkinson's, but the rigidity caused by Parkinson's could be exacerbating or making some of those conditions feel a little bit worse. So by practicing some of these strategies to reduce tension, hopefully that will be one pain management technique. And the good news about this is it's pill-free. So that means there's very few side effects that you would experience from this. And I'm all for that. So we can actually use our minds and our breath to help. And so I want to just talk about a little portable, mindful movement routine that you could do. And I don't want you to necessarily look at the handout while we're doing it, but I gave you the handout that's in your packets as a resource because many times I'll go through an experience with people in an audience and then they'll say, well, I can't remember everything that we did because I was so in the moment and practicing it. So this is maybe when you go home and maybe you want to practice it again. This would be a reference for you to look at. But really now, I really want you to just experience the movement and the breath. So we're going to go through an exercise, just sitting in the chair, of just mindful movement. So I invite you to just maybe pull your chair away from the table, give yourself a little bit of space, and I want you to sit in your chair. And hopefully most of us are tall enough so our feet can hit the floor when our bottoms are all the way to the back of the seat, okay? So your back is fully supported by the back of the chair. And think about the soles of the feet making contact with the floor, about hips distance apart. The hands are open and resting on the tops of your thighs. And I just invite you to close your eyes to kind of cue into your body. And I want you to think about the weight of your feet against the floor, fully supported. The weight of your pelvis on the chair, with weight equally balanced on both of your sit bones. The length of your spine is supported by the back of the chair. So it's taking very little effort to sit right now because you're relaxing into the support of the floor and of the chair. Now I want you to imagine that there's a string attached to the crown of your head. Straighten your back and lengthen your spine as though the string is being pulled up directly from the ceiling. Pay attention to the position of your head so that the chin is slightly pulled back and the back of your neck is long, so your head is balanced on top of your shoulders. Now bring your attention to those shoulders. And just release the weight of your shoulders down. Shoulders are down and pulled back. And now we're just going to pay attention to our breathing. You never want to force or hold the breath, and if you become lightheaded during this exercise, just breathe normally. But I want you to just place one or two hands right over your belly button. Take a comfortable breath in through your nose and feel that abdomen expand into your hand. And then breathe out through your nose or mouth, feeling the stomach deflate or flatten. Inhale to expand. Exhale to deflate. Keeping the shoulders and chest quiet and still. Breathe down into where your hand is resting. Feeling that outward movement on the inhale, and then feel your hands sink back in on the exhale. Feel the expansion of your rib cage outward on the inhale, and let things gently deflate on the exhale. And now we're just going to begin to move the head and neck by dropping the chin down to the chest. Pretend your nose is a pencil, and you're slowly going to draw a circle with your nose, tipping your head to one side, coming up and around to the other side, and down, making those slow, easy circular movements. Making sure the face is relaxed, the jaw is relaxed. And then go ahead and switch the direction of that circle. Circle that head the opposite direction. Just rolling all of the tension out of the neck. And go ahead and complete one more circle. And then just bring your head to a level position where the chin is slightly tucked and your head is balanced on top of your shoulders. If your eyes are open, you'd be looking straight ahead, not at the ceiling, not at the floor. And we're going to begin to move our shoulders now, bringing the shoulders up towards the ears, back, down, and forward. Making rolls of the shoulder, up, back, down, forward. And I want you to just clue in to one side of your body. Focus on the right side first. Just focus on how that right shoulder is moving. Up, back, down, and forward. Now focus on the left side. And you may notice the movements are not equal. Just observe that without judging. Many of us have one side that moves better than the other side. Make a mental note of what side that is. And then just quiet your shoulders, drop them down for a minute. And now just focus on that stiffer side. Up, back, down, and forward. Focus on that stiffer side. One more time around. And then come back to the center. And just bring your awareness to both shoulders. And just pay attention to how they feel now, having done a little bit of movement compared to how they may have felt when you started. And we're going to work on some hand movements. So I invite you to just take your right hand and support your left forearm. And then just take that left hand and circle it. Even watch that hand as it circles. Make a slow, easy circle in one direction. And then reverse the direction. And then take that hand and just bring it down to the top of the thigh. Bring the other hand down. And just note how differently the hands may feel. The one that was just moving and the one that was just holding the arm. And now let's repeat it on the other side. So the left hand takes hold of the right forearm, and we circle that hand around. And just observe how the movement may feel different on this side. All the way around in a big, slow circle. And then reverse the direction. And you may notice maybe some catching or jerking at a certain point. Never judging, but just being aware. And then just take both hands down to the tops of the thighs. And just observe how the muscles in your hands feel. Now we're going to work each finger, starting with the left. We're going to touch the tip of the thumb to the index finger and gently flick it away. And then take the middle finger to the thumb, flick it away, ring finger, flick it away, pinky. And then in reverse order, back to the ring finger, flick, middle finger, flick, index finger, flick. And now hold the whole hand open and relax the hand. Bring it down. And again, just note the difference in muscle tension from one side to the other. Now let's go to the right hand for those finger flicks, starting with index finger to thumb. Flick, 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 and then in reverse. And then open the hand nice and big like a starfish. And let everything relax and bring that hand back down to the tops of the thighs. Now we're going to bring our attention to our midsection, to our pelvis. So I want you to put your hands right on the top of those hip bones. Feel for those hip bones. Feel the top of those hip bones, but still keep the shoulders nice and relaxed so they're not hunching towards the ears. And I want you to think about shifting all of your weight over to your left sit bone, and then shift your weight forward to the front part of the sit bones. Shift your weight to the right, and then shift your weight back. We're going to circle again in that same direction. Left, forward, to the right, and back. Once more around. Left, forward, to the right, and back. And now let's reverse it for 3 circles towards the right first. And really key into those sitting bones that are on the chair and feel the weight shifting through the sitting bones. Moving in that slow circle. If you have pain, never forcing, just keeping the movement within a pain-free zone. And when you've completed that last circle, come back to that balanced sitting posture, using the back of the chair to support the spine. And just let your arms relax down. And now moving on to the legs. We're going to do some seated ankle circles, starting with the left. We're going to straighten the leg and just concentrate on only the foot moving around in a circle, but the leg stays still. 3 circles in one direction, slow and controlled, and then reverse the direction for 3 circles. Just moving the foot, doing whatever movement is available to you. And then lower that foot to the ground. And just note the difference between the 2 sides of the body. Extend the right leg out and circle 3 times. Big circles. Holding the legs still. Pausing in the center, and 3 in the opposite direction. And then bring that foot down to the floor. And just mentally scan your body for a minute. And just pay attention to what areas of the body may feel looser, or what areas of the body may still be holding tension. And we're going to move the arms with the breath now. So we're going to inhale through our nose and let our hands just float up high to the ceiling as long as there's no pain. And then we're going to exhale and let our hands float all the way down to the tops of the thighs. Modify the movement if there's pain. Inhale, maybe reaching a little higher this time, extending the fingertips, holding at the top, and exhale back down. Last time, inhale, reach and hold, exhale. The next movement is a chest opener. Often we tend to round forward and hold tension in the front side of the chest. So we're going to really clear out the lungs here, and we're going to open our arms, sweeping them back, and inhale, and exhale, and bringing the hands to the tops of the thighs. Inhale, and open, and stretch, lifting the heart, and exhale. And once more. Inhale. Open. And exhale, and let the hands come back down. So after just having gone through just a very simple but mindful or paying attention to your movement, what do you notice? What do you notice? How does your body feel different now than it may have felt before you started to do the movement exercise? More relaxed? In any particular areas, do you notice? Across your shoulders? Any other feedback? Breathing deeper? Somebody said something. Just more relaxed in general. What about your breathing? Does your breathing feel different? You know, so remember how we consciously directed the breath here to the belly. It's because our biggest breathing muscle in our body is our diaphragm that sits right here below our rib cage. It's like an upside down mixing bowl, like a dome shape. That's our most effective and efficient muscle for breathing. But most of us, especially when we're stressed, do not breathe from here. We breathe shallowly from up here, and we use a lot of these other sort of helping muscles called accessory muscles, just like they're an accessory to a crime, that develop a lot of tension. And then we're almost fighting against ourselves with that weight of tension. So imagine if you could quiet some of that tension and breathe from the main breathing muscle, how much better you may feel in your body. And that's the connection between the mind and the body and the breath. So, there's various ways to practice mindfulness. It could be as simple as taking 5 to 10 minutes a day to just cue in to your body and going through this simple range of motion exercise. It could be listening to your favorite sort of calming, relaxing music and just sitting still with the eyes closed for 5 minutes and just cueing into your breathing, for example, and trying to filter out all the other thoughts and worries and things that come at you and just taking that time to be. It's like you're pressing the pause button for 5 to 10 minutes and just making that a part of your day. You know, if you're a spiritual person, that might include prayer. Some people use a mantra when they do relaxation, very simple words that they might say one word as they inhale and one word as they exhale. Something like be on the inhale, still on the exhale. Or there's many other, mantras that just get people to focus their attention on their breathing. I'm going to share one other kind of interesting and very calming breathing technique. It got a lot of national attention when Hillary Clinton was running her presidential campaign. She mentioned this as something that really helped her manage her stress and anxiety, and then a lot of news sources got a hold of it, and it's called alternate nostril breathing. Has anybody heard of it? Few people have heard of it. So it's kind of an interesting, focused breathing, and we know that when you can tap in to the breathing, that has a calming effect on your parasympathetic nervous system. So instead of being in that fight or flight mode, it helps to dissipate that and work on that relaxed breathing pattern. And if this doesn't work for you, if it doesn't serve you, then just continue to breathe normally during this exercise. As with everything, it's not for everybody. And if you feel you're getting lightheaded or whatever, trying to figure out how to breathe, don't think about it so much and just breathe normally and naturally. But I'm going to have you give it a whirl. So I'm going to have you first make a peace sign, okay? And then put those two peace fingers together. Take your two peace fingers and place them right between your eyebrows. Okay, so that's just going to be your resting spot right between your eyebrows. You don't have to press hard. You're just stabilizing your hand by placing those fingers there. And then you're going to put the thumb on the outside of one nostril and the ring finger and or the pinky too on the outside of the other nostril. Okay? So I want you to just inhale normally and then plug the nostril with your thumb and exhale through that nostril and then inhale through that open nostril and then pinch it off and exhale through the other nostril. Inhale through that nostril and then block it and switch to the other side. Exhaling first, then inhaling. Switch sides. Exhale. Inhale. Pinch that nostril. Exhale. Inhale through the other side and just continue. First with that exhalation, then with the inhalation. Block it off. Other side. Exhale. Inhale. Once more. Exhale. Inhale. Last time. Block that side. Exhale. And inhale. And just let that hand come down and relax. So that's just it's an ancient technique. In yoga, it's been used for a very long time. Breath work in yoga is something that's a very key component of yoga because breathing and muscle tension are very closely connected, as you even saw by some of the exercises that we did today. So even if you just practice a technique like alternate nostril breathing, maybe just it could be in the moment, in a time where you're feeling really stressed out, as long as you're not driving, and you can practice that, and that's just another tool that you have in your toolbox. There's many tools in a toolbox for somebody with Parkinson's that have to do with movement and exercise. And I guess that's the important take-home message from what you heard earlier today and what I'm saying now, is that there's many different ways to move and to exercise, whether it's strength training, whether it's balance training, whether it's boxing, Tai Chi, yoga, Nordic walking with poles, or whatever other form of exercise that you like to do. There's no one right thing that everybody with Parkinson's has to do in terms of the mode of exercise. It's more about the mindfulness of the exercise. So you're paying attention to how you're doing that exercise and also what works for your body, because that's going to be very different for each individual. But, as Dr. McKinnon was talking about, that consistency, that progression is very important. So if you've been doing something for a very long period of time and you do the same old routine at the gym or the same old walk around your neighborhood, probably time to kick it up a notch or to modify things or to change things. And again, I think that's where a physical therapist can be very helpful for you, because we're skilled and knowledgeable about people that have conditions like Parkinson's and may have other conditions like arthritis or other spinal conditions or what have you. And we can come and partner with you and then be that link to, okay, let's try some of these things. Then you come back, we'll talk about what worked and what didn't work till we find something that's right for you. And then hopefully when you're done with physical therapy, we're going to try to plug you into something in the community that works for you, because we know that people do better in a supported group environment when it comes to exercise. It keeps us accountable. There's socialization. There's a little bit of competition sometimes that can be helpful. So I think it's, finding the right fit for you. And there's many mind and body opportunities. I know at Struthers Parkinson Center, I teach a yoga class. We'll soon be adding this spring a second yoga class. Then we also have Tai Chi classes. But even if you don't live in the Golden Valley area, you can look on the Parkinson Foundation website for some of our exercise partners that are listed there. Or you can look in your local community center. If you're new to a practice like Tai Chi or yoga, I would recommend you let the instructor know and go to some sort of a beginner type class so you don't get frustrated or injured by going to a class that's beyond your level of difficulty. But it could be a wonderful addition, something maybe that you're not doing, and you may well find that it helps you to manage some of your symptoms of Parkinson's.